Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Benedict if you are new here, and I am / was a fourth year physiotherapy student. I was studying at Wits University, and in today's video we're going to do a bit of a recap as to how the year went. We're going to look at the good, the bad, and what basically happened from the start to the end. So we're currently in November. I finished all my exams and all of that. If you're not subscribed yet, please do hit the subscribe button. Please do like the video, leave a comment, and yeah, let's get right into the video. So just to start off the video, just so that everyone has an idea as to what I'm talking about, I'm gonna give a bit of a layout so you guys understand how the fourth year actually pans out. So in the beginning of the year, you start with 6 weeks of theory lectures. So you have classes every day, and you're basically covering all the theory stuff. So your assessments, your treatments, managing patients, looking at different conditions, just so you guys are prepared before you start doing your clinicals and before you start actually doing practicals and seeing patients. So all of that is covered in 6 weeks. After the 6 weeks, you start having clinicals for the rest of the year. So you have 6 blocks of clinicals, and each block has got 4 weeks. So the 6 different areas, or the 6 different blocks, are divided into sports, ICU, ortho / NMS, pediatrics, public health, as well as neuro or spinal. So those are the 6 weeks of theory lectures that you're going to be doing at the beginning of the year. The first semester you do also do a research methodology, which is basically just doing a research protocol, almost as if you were like a master's student researching a specific area in the field. So you do like a protocol and almost like act as if you were actually going to carry out research assignments in that area. And that's basically just to teach you some research skills and how to actually carry out a research project. And then in the second semester you also do management for therapists, which is about managing a private practice as a physiotherapist, because as a physiotherapist you are able to open up your practice, your own private practice. So you're taught about the rules, the laws, how it works, and pricing, like everything that goes into opening a private practice as a physiotherapist. You're taught that in management, and it's not a difficult course. It's just 2 weeks. And yeah, at the end of that you have a test, and that's that. Starting off with my clinicals, my first semester I did sports was my first block. And basically what I can say about sports is that sports was a very messy block. It was all over the place. Like, we had 4 different placements. So usually you go to one placement for the 4 weeks, but in sports we had 4 placements, and you had to change between those 3 or 4 placements every week. And the annoying thing was that sometimes they would change the placements like the day before. So if you don't have any communication with other students, you may not have received that notification that tells you that, listen, tomorrow you're not going to where you're actually going to where. So you find yourself going this side only to find out when you get there that no, they actually changed the day before and you're going somewhere else. So that's one thing I really didn't like about sports. But apart from that, it's a really it's a nice block because you don't really see as many patients. Basically you see a lot of like athletes. So we saw soccer players, runners, we saw hockey players, and we also did see rugby players. But rugby players, it was more of like them coming for rub downs. So that was at the Wits Sports Center. So out of the 4 placements, we had 1 placement which was a private practice that was owned and run by our main supervisor for the sports block. We also went to the Wits Sports Clinic on campus, and we went to a gymnastics club once to treat gymnastics children. And which other placement did we have? Oh yeah, once also went to UJ and treat patients there. And what the hell are the other placements? I'm maybe missing one, but either was 3 to 4 placements. Can't really remember the exact. Yeah, so at the Wits Sports Clinic, we saw a lot of the rugby players who played for the Wits rugby team, and they basically just came in for like rub downs. So you know, if you have sore muscles, they'd want like a bit of a rub down. And like, listen, rugby players are big and they're very muscular, so now you're there putting in your whole body into it, giving them that rub down. It was so tiring, and there were like so many of them. So that was a bit of hard work, but they were always so nice and so friendly, so it wasn't really a big issue. And yeah, apart from that, like again, there weren't really that many patients, but the few patients that we did see, I felt like we did learn a lot. It was very informative, and as much as our main supervisor was just very busy, because like I said, she owns her own private practice and she also had her own patients to see, so she wasn't always available to help us and to speak to us. But the times that we did have with her, like, she has so much experience and so much knowledge in the area, and I felt like those times, like, I gained a lot of knowledge in terms of like sports and treating athletes and those type of common conditions that you see in those areas. So yeah, sports was definitely an interesting block. Would I go into sports? I don't know. I don't know yet. Okay. In sports, we did see a few outpatient conditions like your lower back pain, sciatica, those type of things. Unfortunately, because it was my first block, I didn't get to treat, or I didn't get to have any experience treating those conditions, so I kind of didn't really know. But like, again, it was fine because our supervisors were always ready to help us with that. So yeah, there was mainly athletes, but also like outpatient type patients. And then for my second block, I did my ICU block at a private hospital. It was an interesting block because, like, I didn't necessarily like some of the supervisors that were there, and they may have been a little bit of conflict in that area, but in any case, it is what it is. It, like, you know, some situations you're not always going to get along with the people that you're working with or the people who are supervising you. It is what it is. What's important is that my main supervisor, you know, we could communicate with her. She was helpful, she was very present, she made sure that we learned what we needed to learn, and that's what I came for. So as long as I get what I came for, then that's good. Nobody else really matters. So for ICU, I know some other students, they do trauma ICU as well as medical ICU, so medical units and trauma units. Where we went, at the hospital I went to, we only were in the trauma unit, so we only saw trauma patients. So your gunshots, stab patients, those type of things is what we saw. So traumatic injuries. So we didn't really get that much experience, or we didn't get any experience treating medical patients at all. So like, when I say medical, I mean like patients who have, let's say, chronic health issues like respiratory issues or heart issues. Didn't really get to see any of that. So in the ICU, the patients are mainly on mechanical ventilation, so they're getting assistance with breathing. So you have this like massive machine that pushes air into their lungs, and that's basically what helps them to breathe, because they're sedated. So when they're sedated, they're not awake, they're not conscious, they need that assistance with breathing. So when you're seeing the patients, a lot of the time, like I said, they're not conscious, they're asleep. But you do get patients who are on mechanical ventilator who are conscious and who are not sedated. It's a little bit dangerous sometimes with patients that are conscious, because sometimes they tend to pull out their tube. So when they're on the mechanical ventilator, they have a tube, the ETT tube, that goes down their throats, or they can have the trachea that is connected here. So sometimes you get patients who pull out the ETT tube from the ET tube from their mouth, and that is very dangerous for them to do that. So a lot of times they can be restrained, or like I said, sedated. So treating patients in ICU is very routine. It's basically for those who are sedated, you're doing your suctioning, so clearing, like using the tube that you go in down the throat with to clear out any secretions, like any mucus or anything that's stuck in their chest that could cause infections. You want to clear that out. You're doing your manual chest physiotherapy. You're doing manual hyperinflation, so using like this what do you call it, like a balloon type of thing, and like pushing air into the lungs, which helps to expand the lungs and gets air into deeper areas of the lungs as well. That's manual hyperinflation. You also do like basically passive movements, so you want to make sure that the joints are still mobile. You want to maintain muscle length. That's why you do passive movements, and also improve circulation through the limbs. And then also you do positioning, so preventing pressure sores, also assisting the nurses, because the nurses do bathe the patient. So sometimes when the physio comes, because the physio is going to assist them to roll the patient, they want to quickly do their back care and all of that. So sometimes you'll work with the nurses doing all of that, or that's what we did at least. And what else did we do? Okay, and then for patients who are a little bit more conscious, you can get start doing some active exercises in the bed, you know, getting them moving about, getting them sitting at the edge of the bed, even if they do have the tube inserted. Unfortunately, at the placement that I went to, we were not allowed to get patients sitting up when they had their ET tube in, only if they had a trachea in. But I hardly ever had to get any of my patients up because they were just never at that level yet. So yeah, as well as mobilizing patients. So some of them, may not be on mechanical ventilation, they may maybe be on high flow, so it's a bit easier to get them moving about because you don't have like a massive machine to be moving with. So you'll be mobilizing them around the ward, so using whether it's crutches or walking aid, whether it's crutches or a walking frame or any other walking aid, just getting them moving about the ward, because when you are in ICU, like, you get very weak very quickly, very easily. So we need to start rehabilitating them so that they regain muscle strength and they regain their ability to become more functional and to move about. And so when they're discharged, you know, you're not discharging somebody who's weak and who can't take care of themselves. You want them to be able to be independent by the time they're leaving the hospital. So that's what we're focusing on in the ICU. So in the block, like I said, we had a nice supervisor, and we had a really good orientation as well. So she took us around the whole placement, showed us where everything is, what we do, what the procedure is like every day, what happens from the start of the day to the end of the day. And yeah, I think the first 2 days or so, we were basically just shadowing her, so we never had to treat any of our own patients. We were just watching what she was doing, and then sometimes she would like allow us to assist and actually do it so that she could see if we could do it, if we were doing it correctly. And then so yeah, that was nice. And then from there we started gradually getting our own patients. So we started getting like 3 patients, then it started going up towards, by the end of the block we had at least 8 patients. And I'm not gonna lie to you, like, by the time we got to the end of the block and we were seeing 8 patients a day, when I tell you we were suffering, we were dying. And I don't know why, because when I hear other students talking about their placements, they're like, yeah, we saw 10 patients, we saw 12 patients, and I'm just like, you did what? Because the way we were suffering with those 8, I don't know what was going on. But yeah, the other nice thing that was really different about this hospital, remember I said it was a private hospital, so working there I really saw the difference between private and public hospitals. Like the difference is so big. Looking at availability of resources, whatever you need is always available. The place is clean, the nurses take really good care of their patients, well, better care of their patients compared to public hospitals. Also, at this hospital they used, it was very technologically advanced, so they used tablets instead of like files or papers to write on your notes. So you'd have a tablet that you would use for the whole day, so you're going around to each patient, you're using a tablet, you're writing down the note on the tablet, and on the tablet you could find all the information for all the patients. So you never had to literally use a pen and paper or anything, everything was in the tablet. So that was very different. ICU is very labor intensive. When I tell you, you will work, in fact you will sweat, you will be there working, and then you'll see the sweat falling down your head. There was this one patient I had, he was a spinal cord injury, so he was in an accident. He injured his C5 C6 cervical vertebrae, so he was a quadriplegic, meaning that he was paralyzed from his like his his arms and his legs were not working, right? If you have that type of an injury, especially if it's in the cervical region, you're also going to experience breathing issues and breathing difficulties. So whenever I saw him, I had to suction, I had to do manual chest physiotherapy, I had to do assisted cough, because he wasn't able to cough strong enough for himself. So I had to do like an assisted cough, and doing an assisted cough is like it's almost like doing CPR in a way, not like almost, but you're like pushing and pushing and pushing in, and he was like a big guy, so I had to really go in there and push. And when I'm there pushing, bro, like the sweat is like, I'm just like, oh, it's hot, and I had to do all of this. And then I was also doing manual hyperinflation, because he also needed manual hyperinflation because his left lung had collapsed, so we really needed to make sure that that lung was expanding. And it didn't end up collapsing again, so I was doing manual hyperinflation. After manual hyperinflation, you need to suction again, and then when he suctioned, and he has to start coughing, so now I have to go in again and then do the assisted cough. And then after that I have to do passive movement, and again, like I said, the guy is a little bit heavy, so I have to go in there and lift like the heavy legs and be stretching and stretching and stretching. And then I had to roll. We had to roll him with the nurses so that they could do the back stuff. Yo guys, when I tell you, after I saw him, I was tired. I was tired. Anyways, yeah, like I said, ICU very labor intensive, but I did also hear that apparently people who work in ICU make a lot more money, because also patients in ICU are seen sometimes, depending on their condition, they're seen sometimes twice a day. So as a physio, if you're seeing a patient twice a day, you're getting more money. I think that's how it works. I don't know, I can't remember, but somebody told me that apparently in ICU you make more money as a physiotherapist. I don't know how true that is. But okay, and then moving on to the third and final block, it was back at a public hospital. It was my ortho / neuromuscular skeletal block. So where I went, we had the first 2 weeks was neuromuscular skeletal, so outpatient patients, right? And then followed by the next 2 weeks we did ortho patients in the wards. So the first 2 weeks, our patients focused mainly on like lots and lots of lower back pain patients. And if you know anything about doing back pain or treating back pain, you know that's very complicated, it's very complex, and it will have your head doing this. So yeah, it was very tricky treating lower back pain at the time, because you're really trying to get to the cause and doing a thorough in-depth assessment. Yeah, it was hectic, hey? It was hectic. And then we also did see patients with, I saw lots of neck pain, I saw a headache once. So treating headaches, physiotherapists are able to treat patients who have headaches as well. What else did I see? Oh, I saw some common stuff like, you know, fractures, humerus fracture, ankle fracture. I saw an Achilles tendon repair. Yeah, also in outpatients, we saw more, like a lot of the patients came before lunchtime. So after lunchtime, we would just like show or write soap notes. They weren't really patients that came like after lunch. During the mornings, it was just very busy because there were just many patients that were coming. And the thing is that when a patient comes, there's obviously an appointment time, but a lot of the time the patient wouldn't come at their scheduled appointment time, because, you know, there's a lot of issues like transportation. A lot of the patients come from far, so transportation is not always easily available. So when the patient does come and you see that they're coming, let's say that their appointment time was at 8 a.m. and they come at 10, you have to still see them at 10 o'clock, because they're not going to be able to come back again, you know. So you have to see the patients when they're there. So sometimes even if once they come on the wrong dates, if the patient comes on the wrong date, that's an additional patient for that day. That means you have more patients and less time. So that's how it becomes really busy and really hectic, and you have to figure out how to squeeze everybody in the day. So the mornings were just always very busy and very chaotic. But like I said, the afternoons were a lot chilled, a lot chiller, a lot more chilled. Okay, and then ortho was now, we have to go to the wards. And then orthopedics is basically a lot of fractures. It's basically just fractures, honestly. Treating patients that have fractures, again, very similar stuff to third year ankle fractures, lower limb fractures, upper limb fractures. More of the fourth year stuff would be like polytrauma, cervical fractures, TV spine, which is what I did see. I did see some polytrauma. So there was a lady who had an ankle fracture and a radial, what was it? A humerus fracture with radial nerve palsy. And she also had a pelvic fracture. Yeah, so she had a lot going on with her. Yes, there was someone on cervical traction. So this one girl, she was in a car accident. Yeah, in a car accident, she fractured, I think, her C2 vertebra, and they put her on cervical traction. And then also I saw a lady with TV spine, and yeah, TV spine, it was also very simple. She just had like a lot of sensory loss and muscle weakness, basically. I'm trying to remember what else. I can't remember, it was some time back. I can't remember the details as to how she was, but yeah, that's basically what we saw. Again, there were not many patients for the orthopedics 2 weeks. We never saw that many patients. And yeah, alright guys, so we've come to the end of the video. That's part 1. So that's how my first semester and my first 3 blocks went. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys have any questions, please do leave it down in the comment section. If you managed to get this far into the video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed so far. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.